So hello everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Public Information Center regarding the Municipal Class Environmental Assessment for the Fifth Line Bridge Rehabilitation. Try that again. So we'll start with a brief introduction of our team members. My name is Jody Marks, and I'm an environmental planner with Ainley Group. I am the Class Environmental Assessment Lead for this project. And as part of the Class EA, I coordinate background studies and the consultation process. Brian Wickenheiser from Ainley Group is also present this evening. Brian is the project manager and engineer for this project, excuse me. His engineering expertise are with bridges and structures. As well, Michael McHale is present this evening, and Michael is the manager of public works for the Township of Essa. So I just have the outline of the agenda here. We'll start with a brief background on the project and study area. I'll share some information on what a municipal class environmental assessment is and the process it follows. Then an overview of the existing conditions of the study area. The fourth agenda item will present the alternative solutions under consideration to address problems identified. And here we'll pause for a short question period on the information presented so far. And the last portion of the presentation will outline the evaluation criteria used as part of the Class EA and describe the potential impacts identified from each of the alternative solutions. And then sharing the next steps of this project, and we'll conclude the presentation with another comment period. Just a note about any comments or questions. If you're comfortable, we just ask if you could share your name before you begin with your comment or question. This just helps us keep track a little bit easier if we need to do any follow-up responses with you regarding our question. It will just help us with that. And we'll also be compiling a Q&A summary of all the questions asked during the PIC to post to the township's website for those who were not able to participate, but your personal information will be kept off of that public summary. During the presentation, all participant audio and video will be turned off, and then once we reach the comment periods, the audio will be unmuted by our moderator. So to begin, just a brief overview of the study area. This is a satellite image of the project study area and the surrounding lands. The study area is highlighted by the red box right here in the middle. So it's referred to as bridge number 9 with the Township of Essa. And bridge 9 is located on Fifth Line, south of Angus, but north of Baxter. And bridge 9 crosses over the Nottawasaga River. So there's a big bend right there. The township has initiated a class environmental assessment to evaluate options that would address deficiencies associated with bridge 9. The Fifth Line is a key transportation link between the communities of Angus, Baxter, and Alliston. Bridge 9 is estimated to have been constructed in 1950, making it around 70 years old. The bridge currently operates as a single-lane structure with sightlines on the southbound approach below standard requirements for the posted speed limit. In 2019, an inspection of Bridge 9 was completed following the Ontario Structure Inspection Manual, and again in September of this year, 2021. The investigations identified the need for immediate maintenance items and long-term recommendation to replace the structure. Another concern is the ongoing erosion and sediment deposition, which is creating a restriction in the Nottawasaga River at the bridge location, resulting in ice and debris jams that can cause flooding. A municipality is required to conduct a municipal class environmental assessment, or Class EA, as I'll be referring to it throughout the presentation, before this type of infrastructure project can proceed to construction. A Class EA follows an approved planning process designed to protect the environment and to ensure compliance with the Environmental Assessment Act. The purpose of the Environmental Assessment Act is to provide for the betterment of the people of the whole or any part of Ontario by providing for the protection, conservation, and wise management in Ontario of the environment. The term environment is broadly defined and includes the natural environment, such as plants, animals, water, etc., and the social, economic, and cultural conditions that influence the life of people or a community. The Class EA process requires the evaluation of potential solutions and design concepts so that projects, when implemented, will address the problems but also keep environmental impacts to a minimum. This project is classified as a Schedule C project in accordance with the municipal Class EA and is the highest level, which is requiring the completion of phases 1 to 4 of the Class EA process. So here's a visual of the municipal Class EA process, just to help with the explanation. As I mentioned, the project is following a Schedule C Class EA, so that requires the completion of phases 1 to 4. So the phases are listed at the top here. And we are here currently almost at the end of phase 2. And so we're inviting comments to be completed on each of the alternative solutions. And consultation is an important part of the Class EA process, and there will be opportunity to provide comments for consideration to the project team throughout each phase of the EA. I'll get into a little bit more detail on the next steps later at the end of the presentation. The next few slides will provide information on the existing conditions. We assess the existing conditions of the environment to ensure that we can accurately identify any potential impacts that the alternative solutions may have on the environment. With the term environment being a broad term, we have created 4 categories. So first I'll start with the physical environment. And the physical environment is described as the physical infrastructure, such as the bridge and road. The current bridge, number 9, is a 2-span continuous concrete T-beam bridge with a concrete deck and wearing surface. The deck is supported on 3 concrete abutments and a central pier. The structure is 52 meters long with only a 6-meter wide platform between the barriers, and therefore currently operates as a single-lane structure. It is acknowledged that with the bridge operating as a single-lane structure, it does not function efficiently for the volume of traffic using the bridge. The southbound roadway is steep and on a curve, so the sightlines don't meet the standard requirements for the posted speed limit. The speed limit was lowered for this section of the road in an attempt to improve this issue. The second category we have is the natural environment. A background study conducted by Riverstone Environmental was completed to assess the natural heritage features within the study area. And the assessment concluded that the study area provides high potential and confirmed habitat for a variety of wildlife, including endangered and threatened species, while the Nottawasaga River represents direct habitat for fish species. The topography of the study area is generally steep, with 1 or more small drainage features that drain runoff and groundwater seepage down these slopes toward the main channel of the Nottawasaga River. A portion of the study area is designated as an Area of Natural and Scientific Interest, or ANSI, by the Ministry of Natural Resources. The ANSI designation recognizes the unique attributes of the Nottawasaga River, including forested slopes, natural linkage functions, unique wildlife habitat, and prominent groundwater emergence zones. just continuing on with the natural environment. The central pier of the bridge has been observed to slow the velocity of the water on the downstream side of the bridge, creating an area of deposition, which over time has created a sizable formation within the river. A fluvial geomorphic assessment was completed by Water's Edge, and the assessment determined that based off of the amount of woody debris in the river is actively eroding the river banks at several locations within and around the study area. Log jams are a common occurrence at the bridge location due to the central pier, and the log jams increase the potential for upstream flooding. The cultural environment includes archaeological resources as well as cultural resources. The presence of the Nottawasaga River within the study area indicates that there is archaeological potential. However, the construction of the area's infrastructure has altered or disturbed much of the area. Bridge 9 has unique feature of a concrete open railing system. However, a cultural assessment was completed and it was deemed not to have any cultural heritage value. The social and economic environments include consideration for potential impacts to uses by local communities, recreational value, and the costs associated with maintenance, operating, or construction. The township's official plan categorizes most of the land within the study area as environmental significant areas, with a small section of at the north end categorized as agriculture. The fifth line and bridge number 9 provide a key transportation link between the communities of Angus, Baxter, and Alliston. And this transportation route is frequently used to access the Canadian Forces Base Borden and the Honda of Canada manufacturing plant. The Nottawasaga River portions are designated a navigable waterway and used for many recreational purposes. As part of phase 2 of the Class CA process, several alternative solutions have been developed to address the problems identified with Bridge 9. 4 alternative solutions have been developed for consideration and evaluation. The first being a do-nothing option. This is included in the list because considering no improvements or modifications provides a benchmark to gauge the potential impacts of the other options being considered. Option 2 is the rehabilitation of the existing bridge, and the bridge would remain in its current location. Through rehabilitation, additional deck width could be achieved, but is limited due to the substructure design. Therefore, it would not be possible to obtain 2 lanes that would meet the current minimum design standard under this option. The rehabilitation would involve replacing the existing barrier system and approach guide rail to meet the roadside design manual. In addition, slope flattening and tree clearing within the road right-of-way approaching the bridge in each direction would be done to the extent possible to improve sightlines. Option 3. This option proposes to replace the existing bridge structure in its existing location. The design of the new bridge would be of sufficient width to support 2 lanes of traffic and would meet all requirements. The bridge replacement would provide an opportunity to adjust the road profile and bridge elevation to improve the overall vertical alignment. The central pier would be eliminated and the new bridge would be a 3-span with the pier set outside the bank full width. So in this illustration, just here at the bottom, the bank full width refers to sort of the width of the river. So the piers would be constructed on the bank side, so not within the water at all. So this is just an illustration to kind of help describe the option. So roughly just on the outside there. As part of this option as well, erosion protection measures along the banks would also be reviewed, along with the removal of the sediment deposition from the river to restore channel flow. In addition, slope flattening and vegetation removal would be considered to improve sightlines. And our last option, number 4, would replace the bridge on a new road alignment to the west. The existing bridge structure would be demolished and a new bridge constructed that would be of sufficient width to support 2 lanes of traffic and would meet all requirements. As part of this option, the road alignment on the 5th line approaching the bridge from both directions would be adjusted to straightening the curves of the road. The work under this option would be contained to the existing road right of way. So on this satellite image here, the thin gray lines, if you can follow my highlighter here, that's marking the road right of way. So the township owns this property here. And here is the current road and bridge. And this purple line here is indicating the proposed road alignment for this option. So you can see the curves do get straightened out on both north and southbound, and the bridge is shifted, sort of pivoted to the west. So we'll pause here for a moment if there are any questions or comments on what's been presented so far. Krista, can you tell if anyone has indicated that they may want to ask a question?
No, it doesn't appear that anyone does, but just so that everyone does know, there's a mute button located in the bottom left-hand corner. If you're looking to get off of mute, that's how you can go ahead and ask a question.
Thank you, Krista. I'll just wait a few more seconds to make sure no one's trying to get through.
Okay.
Won't let me unmute.
Oh,
I mean,
hello?
what the hell is,
I can't hear a thing.
neither can I.
Hello, is someone trying to get through?
Useless exercise.
Lois, we can hear you. Do you have a question?
I'm just gonna leave. There's no point. We can't do anything here.
It's a total useless exercise. I mean, you have to read everything, you can't hear a thing.
Oh, that's a shame, I guess.
Comment period, yeah.
Trouble.
Comment.
Okay. Hopefully they can figure out their audio. I will just continue then. So the next portion of the presentation is regarding the evaluation that we've done so far on the alternative solutions, so options 1 to 4. And having completed various background studies to gather existing conditions, we're able to evaluate each alternative for potential impacts to the environment. Each environment category has been broken down into specific project-related criteria. The evaluation is presented in a table matrix format to provide a simplified visual comparison. So there's color coding associated with the evaluation, and green represents the most preferred option as it will address the key concerns but create the least amount of environmental impact, while red is indicative of the least preferred option as it has higher potential to impact the environment, and a blank space represents that the impact is considered neutral. So starting right at the top, with the first category of physical environment, there are 3 evaluation criteria as part of this category. Evaluating each option with the ability to address the structural deficiencies. So I'm reading sort of this row here. Option 1 would do nothing to address them. Options 2, 3, and 4 could address all structural deficiencies. So this is referring to the deficiencies of the bridge as a structure from an engineering perspective. And the next criteria is referring to the deficiencies of the bridge as functional. So under functional, the existing structure is functionally deficient, and option 1 would do nothing to address this. Option 2 would provide minimal improvements, and option 3 and 4 would provide opportunity to address these functional deficiencies. So in other words, options 3 and 4 would create a 2-lane bridge, whereas option 2 would not, and option 1 would not, because we wouldn't be doing anything. And the third one, there are existing aerial, hydro, and telecommunications along the corridor. There's also an existing sanitary force main on the bridge structure. So option 1 would have no impact to these utilities, and option 2 and 3 would only impact the sanitary force main during bridge construction works. And option 4 may require relocation of the hydro telecommunications and would impact the sanitary force main. So they've been coded accordingly. Onto the natural environment. So the first criteria just here. Options 2 and 3 would not be expected to adversely impact features and functions associated with the ANSI, as the valley landform would not require alteration. Temporary impacts may include construction disturbances to various wildlife habitat functions. And option 4 would require substantial grading of valley slopes and removal of forested cover within the ANSI, resulting in both permanent and long-term impacts at the site level. So that's why that one has been graded with the dark red, and the other 2, they're temporary or minimal impacts, so they get a lesser negative. Terrestrial, so the second category, or criteria, sorry. Option 2 and 3 would not be expected to require substantial removals of trees within the road right-of-way, while with option 4, there is more substantial removal of forest cover and the potential to impact species at risk. The next criteria, options 2, 3, and 4 have the potential to adversely impact fish habitat by creating obstructions within the channel, removing important cover, or releasing sediment or pollutants in the river. So that's sort of a broad statement. If you're doing construction around water, there is potential to impact the fish habitat. And from an aquatic habitat perspective, the current logjam is beneficial to fish habitat. So that's why that one has a green square. But it also could be said that option 3 and 4 could provide an offsetting benefit for fish habitat. So with that, I'm meaning the removal of the sediment deposition under option 3 and 4 would restore the water depth. And by doing that, you reduce the water temperature, and cooler water is more beneficial to fish habitat. So we acknowledge that, but there is still a potential to negatively impact the fish habitat. So that's why it's been coded accordingly with a more negative. The fourth one here, river system and bank stability. The existing bridge pier is causing the formation of the island, major log jams and erosion along the upstream and downstream banks. Option 2 and 3 would include bank protection adjacent to the existing abutments to prevent scouring in the future. Option 4 provides the possibility for the construction of a full span bridge over the river. And the surface water here, option 2 and 3 may result in temporary construction disturbances to a small drainage feature conveying runoff. Option 4 would likely require realignment of this feature within the road right-of-way. Removal of tree cover would result in decreased shading and potential increased water temperature prior to the feature entering the main river channel. And the last criteria for the natural environment is groundwater. Multiple small seeps were identified within the northeastern portion of the study area. Option 2 and 3 would not be expected to alter any factors influencing the presence of seeps. Option 4 proposes the road alignment toward the west, away from the identified seepage zone. So that's why all 4 there are considered neutral, because there are no impacts expected to the groundwater. Social environment. Under noise, options 2, 3, and 4 would have temporary noise disturbances due to construction activity. And there are 6 residential dwellings which are considered sensitive receptors within and around the study area. And the archaeological parts of the study area have low or no longer retain archaeological potential due to steeply sloping terrain, permanently wet conditions, or previous disturbance. However, under option 4, as it involves the road alignment, it would require further investigation because the road alignment gets into the agricultural designated portion of the land. Cultural and built heritage. As I mentioned, the Bridge 9 was assessed for cultural heritage, and it was deemed not to be have any cultural heritage value following the regulations under the Ontario Heritage Act. So there are no anticipated impacts there. And property impacts. Options 2 and 3 may potentially result in minor property impacts due to vegetation clearing along the roadside. Although it will stay within the road right-of-way, it still may impact the properties right adjacent to that. And sorry, I lost where I was. And option 4 would have property impacts associated with the new road alignment and the property entrances. And recreational use, with options 2 and 3, the formation of log jams will continue to occur, causing obstructions for recreational use. The configuration of the new structures proposed under 3 and 4 would reduce the formation of log jams and provide an open waterway for recreational use. The economic environment, we just have 2 categories here. The construction costs. So there are no construction costs associated with option 1. And construction costs under option 2 and 3, they could be considered comparable Whereas construction costs associated with option 4 are estimated to be considerably higher. So that's why there's a difference in the coding there. And operating and maintenance. Maintenance of the current structure will increase as the structure is over 70 years old. And option 1 is marked as the highest cost because there is a need for regular log jam removals and potential structure maintenance. Option 2 will similarly have ongoing maintenance of the log jams and removal. And option 3 and 4 would require less maintenance due to their revised configuration, and they would be new construction. So after the evaluation that we've done, the matrix and summaries sort of identify a preliminary preferred solution as option 3. And an option 3 is to replace the bridge structure in the current location to accommodate 2 lanes of traffic. And our next steps. So all of this information, the presentation, and the summary of the Q&A will be available on the township's website at that link there. And the project team, we will receive comments for consideration for the next 2 weeks, so closing on December 13th. And then once we receive the comments and review input and things like that, we will select a preferred solution and the project will move into phase 3 of the Class CA process. And during phase 3, this is when alternative design concepts for the preferred solution will be identified and evaluated. So whatever option is chosen, then we move on to coming up with different designs to construct that option. And those design options will be shared in a second public information center that will be scheduled at a future date. But advance notification of the second PIC will be provided if anyone is interested in participating in that as well. And here is our contact information of where you can submit your comments, preferably in writing, via email to either Michael at the township or Brian here at Ainley Group. And again, the comment period will close on December 13th. So please get us your comments. If you don't want to submit any today or chat online, you can, of course, send them in by writing to us, and we're happy to communicate that way. And the contact information will be on the township's website as well, and it's also provided on the notice that I believe is on their website. So with that, I will open up the second comment period. If you have any questions, concerns, please let us know. And if you would like me to go back to any slide that's related to a question you have, I'm happy to do that.
Hi, it's Phil Zewat. I do live on the property that's bordering the southeast portion of the bridge. And I was just wondering, in terms of the timeline, if you do go with option number 3, the preferred option, is there expected, or do you have an estimated timeline in terms of how long it would take to complete a project like that?
Would you like me to answer that, Jody?
Sorry, yes, sure.
Okay. For this construction here, it's a large bridge construction. Even if we go with option 3, there will be a fair amount of road work associated with it. We anticipate construction would take probably in the order of 6 to 8 months for completion, depending on the in-water works timing windows and when the work can get started too. It may have to be broken over 2 construction seasons. There is a potential for doing a job like this as a winter construction too, but it does result in slightly longer construction. So our anticipation is probably 8 months of construction to complete this work.
So you would break it up over 2 sessions just because, I mean, you still need the plows to go through somehow, right?
Well, that's the challenge. Like if we did a summer construction window for it, because of in-water works timing, we typically can't get started until late June or early July. But unfortunately, with the duration of construction, the chances of getting it completed prior to the onset of winter conditions is very low. There's other challenges associated with working around some of the species at risk and stuff too. So your problem is that you may be forced to do a winter shutdown and then resume construction the following spring. This work would be completed under a road closure, though. It will not be possible to maintain traffic over obviously the existing bridge will have to be demolished before you can build the new bridge, in particular being in the same location. That's why we would also consider for a project like this as a possibility of working through the winter. Certain works are possible during the winter, like some of the things like the pile driving, some of the excavation, substructure construction are amenable to being completed in the winter. So this may be a project we might look at instead starting in, say, October of a given year, working through the winter. There still might be a small winter shutdown, and then completing the construction the following, maybe say June, July, or even August the following year.
So I guess my concern then is I'm assuming that the road closure would start at the 20th side road and redirect traffic there. So for the rest of the neighbors that live north of that point, I'd be worried about, are we going to get our roads snowplowed? Because I don't see an area where a snowplow could turn around or even back up for that matter. And I also worry about the garbage pickup.
Yeah.
So the truck would have the same problem.
So what we would do in a project like this for this here, we have what we call two types of road closure. We have what we call a soft closure and a hard closure. So the soft closure would be between the 20th side road and I think it's 25th side road. Basically, the public would be advised that the road is closed at the bridge and it's not open for through traffic. However, local traffic can still access it from each end. However, the road will dead end on each side of the bridge. What we would do in particular for a long duration like this, or if it was closed over winter, we would probably have to build a temporary turnaround area at each end of the bridge as part of the construction to allow school buses, snow plows, and waste collection vehicles to turn around at each end and to ensure that we can maintain the maintenance of the road through the winter.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Just a reminder, if you would like to ask a question, you will have to find the unmute button on your screen that should pop up for you there. I see a camera, Bob and Lynn, you have your audio unmuted. Are you hoping to ask a question? No? Okay. I don't see any other participants unmuted, so I'm going to take that to mean that anyone else who has a question or comment would maybe prefer to submit it in writing, or there maybe are no more comments at this time. I'm not sure if Michael, if you would like to say anything before we conclude, or
I would just like to add, thanks, Jody. I would just like to add that we're working on a funding as well, like with respect to the bridge construction, and that might impact basically impact the timelines as well. That everything will be like based on that valuable budget and what we can accommodate. That's everything. Thank you.
okay, thank you. Okay, Krista, there are no written questions through the chat feature or anything?
Sorry, I do see
Krista?
one. Sorry, go ahead, Mary McDonald.
Oh, I was just going to say, I seen Bob and Lynn, they just did an email. Their
Yeah.
audio doesn't work.
Okay, thank you.
They do have a question. It just is asking, where is Forest Main from?
So I take it they're referring to the sanitary force main, which I believe is currently installed on the bridge at this point here. I'm not certain on the timing. I know it was either, I think it was recently installed or it's in the process of being installed. It is to connect the new development in Baxter to Angus. So it's to provide for sewage treatment from Baxter using the sewage treatment facilities in Angus.
No, no, that this proposal we didn't proceed. Sorry, Brian, to interrupt you. My apologies. The proposal of connecting Baxter to Angus in terms of sewage has not been determined, and could be like basically a different approach that we'll be taking. So
Okay.
I'm not sure. Can you repeat the question that you asked, if you don't mind?
I think the question was related to where the force main is. I mean, our understanding is there was a force main that was being installed or constructed on the bridge as part of a development proposal. And there was some discussions at the time as to whether it should go under the river or be installed temporarily on the bridge and dealt with as part of the bridge construction. Our understanding had been that it was going to be dealt with as part of the bridge construction, but I'm understanding now from what you're saying, Michael, that that is not proceeding at the present time.
We're currently they're currently reviewing the EA process and previously provided EA, and it could be an alternative option that we might be looking into. So this proposal is currently not on the table, so I won't really be too worried about what direction will be taken in terms of sewer or force main connection between Baxter and Angus at this point.
Okay, so that isn't really a conflict at this point then.
Yes, yes.
So I do see.
So Bob and Lynn have just responded saying that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. I thought that's what I was trying to open there. Okay, I don't see anybody else trying to get through. Those are the only questions. I will conclude the presentation for this evening. And thank you to everyone who joined us and followed along.
Thanks, Jody and Brian, for putting this presentation together. And yeah, we'll look forward to finalizing the EA. Just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone, and have a rest of a good evening.
Thank you for your presentation. Good night, everyone.